Remind me of which
Okay.
document is this?
So yeah, in Slack, I think I
Notes
started
folder?
it in the Hangouts. Let's see. I should probably post it. Although we did correctly move it to the CD interchange where it mostly fits. So there's a Google spreadsheet from yesterday, but I can paste it.
1 second, I was just able to enter the debate map, which Timothy did. So you have to choose the private discussions, and then you have to show all, not the featured. And then it's number 15 or something like that.
Private.
Yeah, and Stephen put the
climate
link.
change. Where do you select all?
There's featured and all next to it. When you choose
I clicked was different, yes. And then number.
Just look at the name. Timothy has done it.
Okay. There should be deep links now, by the way. Venrik's added that this week, so you can also link canonical debate design decisions. That's the name. Okay, let's see whether that link works. But yeah, let's wait for Timothy to arrive. Let's first indeed pick up the feature matrix idea. Bentley, was your suggestion to discuss the process or instantly jump to the features?
Just the process right now. Just the process. Then if we have time, we could do the first actual feature or something.
I was looking for the link in the format channel and couldn't find it and lost. I don't know. I don't see a link posted in Hangouts.
I posted both in chat right now.
Still looking for that.
Indeed, if we're going to go ahead with this process, a good idea would be to pin this list in the CD interchange format as well.
Yeah, it could belong in the interchange or the API. But interchange is probably first because we kind of need a format before you have an API. You need a format, so it's probably
posted there, and I'll pin it already, and then we'll see how we go from there.
Let me try and share my screen if I can. There we go. And I hit the wrong button.
Called a feature agreement matrix.
Is that your suggested title for it?
I just needed to give it a name, so it's more than just a link when I pin it to Slack.
Yeah, I mean, it's more of a prioritization of the discussions, but eventually I guess we would say that we agree with them or not.
And it's now a feature agreement prioritization.
And then I'm thinking of using requirements instead of feature because features are usually a bigger, these are pretty small. But let me kind of just talk through the idea, which I put in Slack, but it was in the middle of a lot of conversations, so I'm not sure how many people saw it. But kind of some people have been talking about, making movement. So I thought one of the ways to do that would be as if we could, and we've talked in several meetings about, what are our minimum agreements? A lot of times in that case, we're talking about theoretical, but as far as the format and the API is concerned, and I'm, designing my system, and when I'm making decisions, a lot of times I don't care what the name of the field is, but it'd be nice if it was similar to what other people were thinking. So to kind of just make movement on that, I thought it'd be good if we just started naming some things and not worrying about what version this is or stuff like that, but just start finding agreements. And also starting from the basest stuff that we can. So like the first thing would be, we're going to have a field that stores the actual or multiple fields that stores the actual claim or statement text. So that's kind of like the first thing, because nothing else matters without that. And then shortly afterwards, we'll probably need some sort of unique ID. And I think we'd all kind of agree with a globally unique ID. But just start, if we don't, there's several global unique ID formulas. And if we can't agree on one of them immediately off the bat, let's just agree that we're going to have a unique string, and each system can use their own format of that string. And then, as we decide on a format, specified format, then we can go forward. So just kind of that thing to we're saying, what's the first thing we need to kind of agree on? And even if let's agree to the level of specificity that we can agree. Oh, there's going to be a field. We're not going to agree on a length. And then later we can say, okay, it's going to be this length. And then later on, it's going to be, is it all going to be ASCII text, or is it going to have HTML and stuff like that? So that was just the general idea. And then I tried to put it in a spreadsheet, and I got confused on whether the numbers should go up or down, or whether we should have agree and disagree and all that jazz.
My first reaction to that is, you're speaking about the agreement, the attributes of a claim, but I'm not sure we agree on the ontology in the first place. Like, is the claim the primary building block? We were speaking about the distinction between posit and claim. I spoke the distinction between entity topic and claim and argument, which is the next level up. This, for me, is prior to saying what goes in a claim. What are the entities we're dealing with?
Yeah, and when I used, and that's why I said claim / statement / because I'm not even saying that what the entity is and what it means. I'm just saying we need an entity, and somewhere it needs to have some text in it. The name of that entity, let's discuss what that is and what that means and how many entities we need. But I think we'd agree that we need an entity, and it needs to have some text.
But two things here.
Entities.
Well, yeah, you have to have at least one.
Requirements stem from what the entities are, so you cannot do one without the other. And the other one is, I already mentioned in chat, like, what's the intent here? And it's, I think you pointed it out to me, but you didn't reiterate it now. If the first goal is to have a shared data format, as in not a shared database, but simply an export format, that also dictates what the requirements are. Because yeah, you need more specificity if you're going to use a shared API than when you just have a shared data format to import and export statements. Because as part of the import and export process, if you don't assume that they're interconnected, then you can still do any transform needed while importing. Concretely, in the term of IDs, that means, yeah, if we just have a string, that's fine. Then you just make them whatever unique ID you have in your system. So I think it's also important to keep that in mind, like, what are we agreeing on? And I think I agree with you with a data format is a good first step to go with.
So the first line is basically the title of the claim.
Hi guys.
That's the debate.
Sorry I'm late. I just want to know. I just want to throw in here, as we're going to be discussing this stuff. I'd like to be capturing these into an argument map. So if something pops up to you as seeming like a claim or a pro or a con or whatever, if you could just kind of highlight that to me, I'll go back and try to add it to the map.
Cool.
Good.
Yeah. So yeah, to Stephen. Yes, you're right. It ostensibly is to do a format and to do eventually kind of maybe even a shared API, which is the later step. Initially for me, it's just that so when I'm designing my system, I'm not getting as far off the rails, just so I kind of have an idea of the direction we're going. And this stemmed from because I need that negation statement now in my system. And I have lots of ways to do it, and a lot of them I don't care. So if I could get a feeling of the group on what they're thinking of, then I'm more likely to do an implementation that will transform. But that's all good points. Marc-Antoine is exactly correct. We do need to have some discussions about what entity types we need. I mean, my system I only have, well, I might have two entities types. So yeah, and then maybe some general terms. What are we going to call these entities? Are they claims? Are they propositions? Are they, just, and we don't have to agree on anything, but the more things we can agree on, the closer our systems will be as we keep playing with them.
Exactly. The hierarchy I had proposed was, well, everything is a topic, but the subclasses of topic. One is more, building block entity, something that is referred to. It's a bit confusing calling it entity. I don't have a better name yet. A claim is something about an entity, that it has an attribute, that it's in a relationship with another entity. That's a claim. And an argument. I'm following the canonical debate convention here. Is a relation between claims. So the claim can be a relation between entities. The argument can be a relation between claims. Now, I don't believe everything fits neatly in those three levels. I think there's higher levels, but I do think these three levels are good basic building blocks. Like when something is a claim versus an argument, it is a meaningful distinction. I don't believe everything falls in those boxes, but I do believe those boxes are useful.
I think the primary thing you didn't mention in that summary is the whole difference between posits and assertions, or claims and statements, and however you want to say negation. And so maybe just a quick check around the table. I know Vendrik's opinion on this, I think Tim's as well, but the first question is, are negations modeled or not?
Absolutely.
I think everyone agrees, maybe except Bentley, that they should be. And now he's asking, like, how do we do it? Then the second question, assuming for now, but I'll hear after, that we all agree on modeling it. Do we model it as one node or two nodes? And I wrote a quick summary in the chat earlier today. Do you model it as two in your terminology, Mark, Antoine? You said you model it as two, was it entities? No, so topics with a relation to one another, or do you model it as one topic that has two attributes? That's I think that one of the main things we need to figure out early on.
Yeah, I don't recognize what I'm saying here as such, because for me, that's what you're asking is orthogonal from negation, the way I understand it. So maybe we need to spend more time untangling this.
Yeah, because when you say topic, that's not the same as, and actually I get confused also when you say the wording claim is a relation.
Okay. Let's go over this with a simple example. We were playing with the Earth is flat. Okay. Mm-hmm. Earth is a topic. Okay. It's an entity, and they're all topic. Everything's a topic, but in particular, Earth is a topic that happens to be about an entity. And again, I don't have a good word for this, but entity of zero-arity entity, maybe a zero-arity topic.
I get the confusion now. I think before you go too deep in this, my question then is: do we want to model topics now? Do we want to discuss topics now, or is it something we can introduce later?
I do want to discuss it because it enables me to do a distinction about claims versus posits.
And topics is a good means to structure the tree. So you have items in a tree, in a topic tree actually, which are not claims. Yeah. For instance, you have a global root item, and then you have the topic social health and so on. This is no claim. This is a neutral item, and I would call it topic. So I think it's necessary to build up that tree.
This I would call themes, and I understand that it's how the term topic is usually used. I'm using topic in the sense that is used technically in topic map, the topic map field of discourse, where everything that can talked about is a topic. It's a potential topic of discussion. So that means pretty much everything. Everything's a topic. It's the root class of the class hierarchy.
Let me suggest that yeah, I want to follow Marc Antoine's idea of using topic to disambiguate between claims and propositions, but I don't want to go into a deep discussion about topic because I think I can shoot down whether we need it or not. But let's not have that debate right now.
Yeah, I also think given that we're talking argument mapping here, and I don't think you can have an argument without claims, but you can have an argument without supporting topics. So I think indeed, I agree with Bentley, we should focus on what comes first, then we can still see later how to model the rest.
Well, let me do the whole hierarchy.
Yeah.
We have things we talk about. Those are topics in general. Some of them are entities, or like the earth, or a person, or a document. When I say Jack loves Jill, for example, I'm speaking about a relationship between two entities. When I say the sky is blue or the earth is flat, the sky is an entity, the earth is an entity, and the blue quality and the flat quality are claims. You can model them as either a topic of blueness, or you can model them as blue is another topic and with a color arc between them. I'm not getting into that, but I'm saying the claim is about a topic, about an entity. And the claim is also a topic because everything's a topic, but it's a separate from what is spoken about the claim's target, so to speak. And I'm saying these targets are something that we have to name. I'm calling them entity for now. And the claim is the sky is blue, or rather but the claim can be decomposed as posit plus polarity, meaning sky is blue is true, or sky is blue is false. Why is that? Because it's good to be able to know when two claims are exact opposites of one another. So you want to make the trueness or falseness kind of
was the
external
example?
to the content.
What was the example of opposites you gave here? Sky is blue and?
Sky is blue is true, sky is blue is false.
Okay.
Sky is green is another claim. It turns out that sky is blue and sky is green are opposite claims. But that's not a negation relation. That's a mutual exclusion relation. It's something else. The fact that sky is green entails sky cannot be blue is modeled some other way. But sky is blue is true and sky is blue is false are two claims.
Yeah, I fully agree there, but I think what I disagree on, I can put in a question as, do you think you can have claims that don't have any topics initially when they entered into the system? Should that be allowed?
I think that
or you're using the word claim the same.
I think that we can have claims that are entered without identifying the entities in them.
Without being explicit.
Okay.
Without being explicit. But I do think that when we're trying to identify claims equality, the best way to do it is by identifying topics.
Agreed. But what I'm trying to point out here is that one is more fundamental than the other. If you want to support being able to enter a claim or a statement or whatever you call it,
yep.
Yes, I agree. There's this concept of an entity that's useful. But the first thing we need to agree on is one, that you can actually add claims without identifying entities and how to represent these. So I fully agree with everything you said, but I think that's something we model after we do this more fundamental thing first. So this is just a approach of attack I think Bentley originally suggested, and I'm going to back him up here because I think we will need to focus and start from something.
You know, I'm trying to map this conversation.
Well, I don't think it's mappable.
Well, I'm pulling out claims or arguments. But
well, now it's
tough because what's very clear is it's all over the place.
Yeah,
so
we're discussing what to discuss right now.
Well, so exactly. So I'm starting to wonder if it would be more productive if we inverted and I showed you what I have as claims and you focused on adding arguments or for or against a specific thing. Because that would keep you focused. Would it be more productive, less productive? Would it hit all the questions? I don't know. But it's something we can try given we're all over the place.
Well, I mean, our goal right now is kind of figure out a path forward. So, Dan, when you're talking about mapping, we may have, I'm not sure that we may have shifted direction on you. And you may be trying to do something that's not related to what we're trying to do. Or if you weren't in the first minute or two of the discussion, what's the purpose of mapping our discussion?
It's organizing your thoughts around and your arguments around what should be done and what shouldn't be done in the design of the canonical debate. So if it's choosing whether or not the date format should support UUID as the external ID, a way to stay focused on that is by asserting it should be a UUID and then people throwing in pros or cons. If somebody wants to raise a higher point, we can back up and move to a different place. But
I don't think we're there yet. So we're in the problem solution space right now that's above the debate map. So I would say there's nothing to map at the moment.
Maybe.
Unless I just don't want to arbitrarily pick something to debate about.
Because, well, here's the thing is that you know, okay, my assertion is that problem solution can be mapped onto a dialectic argument map with a lot of inefficiencies, right? I think you could do a mathematical transformation of one to the other.
Yeah, but I think we're talking about we're discussing what do we want to debate right now, and Stephen and I are suggesting that we should debate, which I guess is the debate, that we should say what is the smallest unit of agreement we have to have that everything else is based on. And I think that is that we need and I can't use the word entity because I think Mark used it in a different way than I did. So, you know, an object within a file format that has some sort of text field that says what is the person making a claim about? What is the claim? What is the proposition what is the statement the person is making? And we need to name that field, and we need to decide whether we're going to have a limit on the length of that field. And so those are the three debates. Proposed debates.
Yeah, even the text field.
Right.
Okay. I understand the idea that topics can be put after the fact in the map, and that's a good point. I do think that if, as I propose, they're put at the root of the class hierarchy, then that impacts the model because there's a shared namespace for
what
the
do you mean by root
identifiers.
Do you mean that the claim is a topic?
Object-oriented root class.
Yeah, so a claim is a topic?
A claim is a topic.
Interesting.
Really? And how do you name?
I've said many times, everything is a topic.
But let me ask a question. The topic health. Yes. What is this? What kind of item is this? Is this a claim? Is this an argument? Is this nothing of both? I think
it's the root class of all of them. It's the abstraction that includes all of these things.
Yeah, give it a name.
Topic.
What is topic? Okay, that's the same as in my system. Topic. Something neutral, which is on top of the discussions. This is the tree where you insert all of the discussions.
Right. I guess what I'm saying is that a list of topics provides no value in and of itself without something else. Yeah. So what's the core value of the system? The core value is a logging of the statements.
Claims and arguments.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is claims and arguments are also topics, so they should have the same identifier namespace.
But what does a topic have more than an ID? What's the semantic of a topic? What's common about it? What's common about a claim and an argument and a etc. other than an ID?
Referenceability.
Yeah, but that's an ID.
That's an ID, exactly. But that's it. That's it. I'm saying they should have the same ID namespace. That's all I'm claiming.
Okay. Yeah, no disagreement there. But then, I mean, if it's solely a structural thing.
Yeah, and I think we're all kind of on the idea that almost every object or entity needs to be in a shared ID space.
Yeah. And the other
Wait,
property
so I object kind
Except
of
for
to
Tim.
both of those. Yeah. I mean, I object to the need for, you know, when you say everything, from the white paper perspective, everything is claims, arguments, and
context.
contexts, right? Those are the entities that are the base entities in the domain model, right?
Yeah.
So in terms of having a shared ID space, what do you gain from that?
You gain being able to make a claim about any of them.
You can say this claim can become a what is it, an entity at that point, I guess.
Yeah, the target of another claim. Let me call it the target of another claim. It's more the
Okay, let's make this concrete. So let's say that the Earth is flat. Now becomes a topic you want to reference in another claim. So you can say
Yes.
the Earth is flat is a claim stated by person.
And exactly. Is based on the Ptolemaic, no, not Ptolemaic, but yeah, Ptolemaic model, which is false, but as an example.
So just because I think in concrete software engineering, which is probably wrong, your topic is the name for the entity type of which all other items belong to.
Yes.
And thus they have a shared ID and in a shared ID space. And if we're modeling in a database, we may choose to have everything referenced in a single table. So that
may or may not, yes.
Yeah, so
or
there are other ways to do it, but that's the way you kind of think about it.
Yeah, or at least a same sequence.
So everything, yeah, okay. So topic's just a general term for object in that case. in a system
what he's
has
saying is an abstract class, right?
Yeah,
it's an abstract parent class that
that
is inherited by claims and I guess what I would call context, but also argument.
Yep.
Yes. So let me throw something out there. I would say that that's fine. I don't think that, and this is where it helps going out to a specification document between transported systems, that you can have these abstract classes, but you don't necessarily have to define them. Although we might want to keep that in mind in our design so that when we have the ID field for a claim and the ID field for this other thing, that they're compatible. But we're kind of abstracting out the storage. So I would say we don't even need any of the abstract class notations, but just...
There I agree with you. Abstract class is an implementation detail, but the capacity to reference any topic as the target of a claim is not an abstraction, is not an implementation detail.
Yeah, because when we're saying...
Class is an implementation detail. That depends whether you're talking about entities or about implementation details, because I mean, you can perfectly, what you call a topic is an abstract entity class. If you look at traditional software engineering modeling.
Yes, it is. What I'm saying is implementing it as a class in an object-oriented language. Like I could be doing this in a non-object-oriented language, like say classic Lisp or Scheme, and and still have the same notion of abstract. The concept of abstract class is definitely relevant. The implementation of concrete class isn't.
So I'd say that comes into effect in the design of the actual format, to say that when we're saying what the parent, and I'm going to use parent and child references as opposed to, is that we wouldn't want to say parent claim because it could be anything, right? So we may want to say parent or target, we wouldn't want to say target claim because it could be other things other than claims. So it does kind of affect the format.
parent item or parent object.
Or topic, I
Either.
guess that's what Mark was suggesting. But yeah.
But topic is a special type, isn't it? So the parent can be a claim, can be a topic, something else. The more general term would be item or object, wouldn't it be?
I think Mark was using the term topic as item.
As I said, the topic, in topic modeling, there's two main characteristics of topic. Jack will come with a third also, but yes, everything can be referenced. The possibility of doing a posteriori topic merging, saying these two topics are the same post hoc. We gave them different IDs, but we realize after the fact that they're the same. That's a key function, a key characteristic of topic in topic modeling. And this can be based on something that in topic modeling is known as a legend. I'm not as much of a fan of that as Jack is, but traditionally, it's the idea that if a legend is saying in this domain of discourse, if it has these attributes having the same value, we know automatically to identify it, which for me it's a nice rule, but identification does not depend on it. The capacity to identify is important. Saying, oh, we gave these different identities, it turns out that they're the same. So that's fundamental to what a topic is, like, which is not true of an object. But anyway, so at least if we have the shared namespace and the ability to do references to any object in a non-topic vocabulary, it's already huge in terms of interoperability with the kinds of systems that other kinds of systems, including knowledge graphs and so on, and topic map-based systems like I'm trying to build. It's absolutely fundamental.
So, and I guess I'm realizing through this conversation, I need to step back even further. So like I was saying, what do we want to kind of name that field? And we had an agreement previously. I can't remember what we agreed on a year ago or something.
Identifier?
Well,
identifier?
No, I'm saying like, what is the name of the field that contains the text string of what the claim or statement
What is in the tree? What is in the tree? Tell it.
At this point, we don't have a tree yet because we don't have any references and we don't have IDs. So before that, what's the unit? But now I realize that we need to say what's the name of that identity.
It's the title.
Well, no. What's the name of the entity type that we're defining?
Oh. Okay.
So is claim the correct is so in actually we should probably just let's assume canonical debate lab white paper unless someone disagrees. So we're going to have an entity type called claim, and it's going to have a chunk of text that of what the person is saying. Go ahead.
But how is the topic health a claim? It's not a claim. You don't claim something.
Before we close the discussion on this and choose a name, I'd like to bring up. I'd like to resume what I've captured so far, and what I've learned from it, and bring up 2 points that are unanswered still, right? To my surprise, I'm starting to buy this argument that claims should be able to reference other claims. One argument I heard is that, person A said claim B, right? Okay, that's a claim that references another claim. I don't know how valuable that is, but okay, that's one use. Another seems to be meta debates, which is what you pointed out. If we want to, for example, crowdsource curation where we merge claims, we see 2 are duplicate and we want to merge it. The white paper skips that issue and says experts are going to do it. There's no debate. But if you want to crowdsource it and debate it, then you need a way to reference claim A and claim B and say they're the same. And a third point I'm adding here that is something that's been nagging at me that I feel this resolves perhaps. I need to think a little more, is what I've been calling the problem of premise chaining, which is I have a problem when I'm modeling multi-premise claims, because multi-premise claims might be a way of a claim referencing other claims, right? So you have A is true and B is true. And so you have a master claim that's A and B are true. Okay, that's a simple multi-premise claim. But what I'm running into a lot is where A must be true and B must be true, and the fact that A and B are true means C, right? And when your multi-premise claim is about drawing that conclusion, I have a problem that it's essentially a circular logic. It's kind of begging the question, because you have a claim that has to say A and B in that claim. And this actually seems to solve that. So I see at least 3 concrete uses for that. Now the question I want to bring up here is this a parent class for claims? In other words, is this just a way of claims referencing claims, or do we also need claims to be able to reference what we call arguments, which are claims attacking or supporting claims? And do we need it for context, which you've also called maybe definitions, or we have that's a whole separate debate, but that's a whole separate category of entities. It still hasn't been answered to me if claims need to reference arguments, and if claims need to reference context, or if context needs to reference claims, or if those questions are still open. Before we, the reason I'm bringing this up before we choose a name is, to me, if it's only claims referencing claims, we could just call it claim and have it be a self-referencing entity, right?
Okay, I think all these use cases exist, and maybe we should get into each of them separately. I just want to be sure that Thomas' question is addressed, and do you want me to go through these use cases one by one otherwise?
Let me propose a shortcut to that. Tim, we don't know what we're going to want to reference, so we want the system to be designed to work and reference everything, which I know you don't like, because he likes specific systems. But so I would like to default on the side of flexibility in this instance, and just have it to where everything can reference everything for now. And then as we get further in the discussion, we can try and narrow it down.
I think we're deviating from what we started out with. I mean, we're not necessarily talking data structure. We're talking about requirements. Right now, we're like deviating what should be able to reference what. And we just end up in our previous discussions about context for 3 weeks. Whereas if we go back fundamentally, and let's start with what we did, like what is a claim and how do we represent the claim, without pulling in extra things that might be added later on. That's why I said, like, can you have a claim without a topic? Can you have a claim without context? Can you have a claim? And if all the answers to that are yes, then we know we have a entity, which is a claim. And then we can start discussing, what is that? What is a minimal representation? Does that always need to be rendered as a string, etc.?
Okay, I think that it's not because it can be entered this way, but I think that whenever we want it to be useful, we have to add the entities. And so I say entities are fundamental, even though it can be entered without an entity as a embryonic claim. But for me, the useful claim is post-embryonic, that is, involves topics. That's my opinion. You might differ on that. But saying it, can you enter this entity without, can you enter a claim without the entity, does not fully answer the question of should we model topics at the start? Should we model entities at the start? I want to make that distinction. We may disagree on the answer to that question, but I'm saying they're not tied fully.
I don't think I fully got that.
Okay, you're saying to know whether we need to model entities now, one way to know that is, can we enter a claim without entities? Mm-hmm. And I'm saying it's not enough to know that. It's possible that we can enter a claim without entities, but to be useful, we need to enter entities. And in that case, even though they can be entered without it, the entities are still essential to the system, depending on the use cases. And again, that's the object of debate. But I'm saying that you cannot resolve this debate uniquely on the issue of can I enter a claim without the topics, the entities.
I think we do have to come on some agreements before things are even useful. Because right now I'm proposing, let's just name the damn field with the text in it and what that
Yeah, but you
entity
need to-
is.
you need to
And
know
that
what
will
you're
not be
naming.
useful because you can't associate it to anything else. So the claim doesn't matter. I mean, really all we're doing is modeling a statement in this point. So yeah,
Yeah,
so
but you need to
it's
know
not
what you're
useful.
modeling. We're talking about what we're modeling,
Right.
because I even heard Thomas before say that we're modeling a topic right now. I think the whole question is, what are we modeling? What is the first thing we want to model? That's what this is. You can't
Yeah,
name it
right.
before you know what it is.
Actually,
And
I
for
think
me,
Yeah,
sorry, Thomas.
that's true.
I think we should be blind for the type of the items we are talking about. We should talk about the structure of each item, no matter what it is, no matter if it's pro-argument, no matter if it's a claim, no matter if it's a topic. We should first talk about what do we basically need inside such a entity, whatever type. Yeah? And then we could talk about relations between them. I'm personally, I think we should have objects for the relation as well, because I discovered discussions where the same item was in one case, it was a topic, in one case it was an argument. And it came from different parent topics. So we must have an object saying the relation between those items has a type itself. So
Yeah,
I think we should start with this
Yeah,
structure.
I think we all agreed on that, and I think that's not the issue right now.
yeah. So we need a thing that has. I said a string of text, but Steven's even saying
No.
that's not.
I fully agree. I fully agree on the string of text as the common abstraction of all of them. Don't get me wrong there. What I'm trying to get at is that thing, that string of text. Is that at this point a claim, or is it just, we're not modeling a database? Because yeah, you can say everything can reference each other, but that's a requirement of a database. It's not a requirement of an argument map.
I have a question about your string of text. Is it the text of the claim, or is it the identifier?
The text of the claim. It is saying the Earth is flat. That sentence. What do we want to name the container for that sentence? And then what do we name the object that container of that sentence belongs to?
That's a different question, and one in which, yes, I'm afraid I'll be seen as totally annoying, but I have.
That's where it all falls apart.
For me, that's the form. How should I put it? We had a term for that. I'm trying to remember what it is. Not the form, not the statement.
Or can't we simply say title? What is so wrong about title?
Well, I hate title, and I'll explain why. But first, there are some people saying that, I don't know. I guess I want to.
Let me call it an expression. For me, it's an expression of the claim, and for me, the claims and their expressions are in many-to-many relationship. There's many expressions of any single claim.
Right. Yeah. But what I'm saying is that still we need to kind of start somewhere, and there's going to be a lot of disagreements on how to store those expressions. So my hope was that we could at least agree that we have to store at least one or more. So we don't want to name that more. But you have a good point. You have a good point that may be leading us down the wrong path. So I agree. That's possible.
I think it's really relevant. The multiple expressions is really relevant. My main question always, if you have multiple ways of expressing what I call the same statement, or the equivalent in CDL is claim, does that mean you have also multiple negations of those expressions? Does that mean that for each of the claims you have, you basically have two, for each of the expressions you have on a claim, you have two phrasings of that expression, both for the normal form and the negation, or not?
Yeah. So my preference is that we work more from a imperfect start. And so I would say, let's just agree to have one text box, what we're going to call it, and just say that's we know that's not going to be our final state. So I would like to just iterate through to that, just to have an agreement that we can stand on. But I guess I'm open to that being the wrong path.
Well, you can do it both ways. If you presume there might be multiple expressions, you could still call it the first entered, or the preferred, or whatever, and then add the other expressions
preferred
later.
is possible, yes.
I have a question for this due to this negation. Is it really useful to have a positive and a negative formulation within the same item and then let people vote on it? So on what do they vote? Do they vote on the positive
What do you mean by
title?
voting?
You have an item like
Oh, okay. No, I know what you mean. You mean that
You say you agree or disagree. Which one are you agreeing or disagreeing with? So it's a perfectly valid question.
well, that's why it's anomic. That's why. So if you agree with one, by nature, you'll also disagree with the negation. You cannot agree on
Yes.
both. You cannot. It's one entity in domain modeling terms. Sorry, Mark and Fon.
Yeah. I agree. Yes,
Yeah,
we're
and
still.
my concern with that is I think there are phrases that cannot be written in a completely negated way that doesn't lead to ambiguity and meaning. Like agreeing to one side can be a
I think Marc-Antoine gave us the solution to that. You can universally do that by appending is true or is false to any statement.
And I just prevented with not and that's not always true, because there's ambiguity. It does not stem from the logic.
There's
it stems
problems
from the
with
interpretation.
people. The problem is in practice, people don't know how to do that.
Exactly.
Right? They don't know the difference between like I'm faster than you is not the opposite of you're faster than me, right? Because we're both the same speed, right? So really, I'm faster than you. The opposite is I'm not faster than you.
So that's one of my That was one of my main curation tasks during the user study, was correcting people's negations while they were adding them, because indeed, so there's some guidance needed with that. But I mean, that's a different discussion, I think, from whether or not we want it. And I think we're all on board that we want it, except Thomas now, that I think what we're trying to explain. The main reason for wanting polarity or negations or whatever you call it is to be canonical, to have proper reuse of all the underlying supporting and opposing statements.
There's really two ways to do it, and for a change, I don't have a strong opinion. We can have, like, suppose there's a claim object and I'm dropping deposit. I mean, well, there's three ways to do it, I guess, but I'll get to the third later. But first, there's two distinct claim objects, but they have a link. Here's the negating claim, or there's one claim which is supposed to be in the polarity, and if you disagree, you put a -1. The way that Runbeck would do it is there's two claim objects, but they both point to the same posit, which is in another table. That's what he would do. And you know they're different because they have the same posit, and he's interested in having it's an integer, it's a float between -1 and 1, so you can have 0.5 to say, likely this way or likely that way. And frankly, at that point, you'd need a range.
The specific model aside, all of these discussions pinpoint to what that entity should be or do, and I think what Bentley wants to name that. So we're not. That's why I said we're not modeling topics right now. We're modeling claims, be it or statements or posits, and that's what we need to really agree on right now. And my primary reason for calling it statements has always been because there's a difference between stating something and claiming that thing to be true. For me, that's a distinction that's similar to Runbach's distinction between a posit and the assertion tied to that posit, where you say that posit is true or that posit is false.
But that's what you can make by using arguments for and against, and by voting for and against the claim. You don't have to have two titles of the same claim, of the same item. One which is positive, one is negative. This makes it ambiguous, I think.
Which part is ambiguous?
If you have a positive and a negative title of the same item.
No,
and
the earth is flat, the earth is not flat. The point is that when you argue in some discussion, you want to say, oh, that's not true because the earth is flat. Or you want to say, oh, that's not true because the earth is not flat. Both are valid arguments to make. But what you want to do is you want to pull in the entire underlying supporting and opposing arguments of the earth is flat or not flat. If you make them two statements, that means that all of the underlying arguments for that node need to be either duplicated or referenced. You need to deal with that somehow. But the underlying logic is that they're actually one and the same. That's the notion of a negation of polarity. Like all the supporting arguments are the opposing arguments of the negation and vice versa.
I agree. Where I agree with Thomas is that when there's a positive and a negative form, and you say you agree, you have to darn well know which form you're agreeing to. That is a fact. Because otherwise,
that's done by representation. I mean,
I think
you
that's
have
right.
that problem even if you don't have opposite representations. You need to know what
Yes.
you're agreeing to, right?
Exactly.
So the pro and con get switched. There shouldn't be confusion.
I don't see that as a big problem. The other distinction I think Thomas is introducing, and I agree totally with him again, it's that if I put the Earth is flat in the system, I'm putting it in as a statement, even as a positive statement. That doesn't mean I'm agreeing to it. I'm just putting it in the system. That's a distinct operation. And we have to be very clear about when is somebody putting an argument into a system, which may be a straw man, versus endorsing the statement. And those are different things. I don't think that's the same as an argument as I understand argument, by the way, Thomas. For me, argument is about saying the Earth is flat, is relevant to, supports, or the Earth is not flat rather, or the Earth is not flat, supports, I can reach China by sailing west from Spain. That's an argument, and it's a link between two claims, which is not the same as saying I endorse the Earth is not flat. That's not an argument. That's maybe a vote or an endorsement or something like that. So there's many polarities all around. I mean, in Delphi, they distinguish between saying a statement is true and a statement is significant. I can say this is true, but it has no impact on the issue at hand. It's totally different axis again.
If we had,
go ahead.
If we had two opposing claims in the system, like the Earth is flat and the Earth is not flat, wouldn't it be also feasible to say one of both is chosen and the other one, all of the arguments are switched? So pro arguments become con arguments and the other way around and are added to the other item, which was.
So no, unless you want to argue that means that the person that wants to use the Earth is flat or the Earth is not flat as an argument somewhere needs to then, rather than adding that as a, suppose you want to use the Earth is not flat as a supporting argument somewhere, that means that you then need to add that as an opposing argument because the form you want to use is not there, and then you have a double negation. It just doesn't make sense. You want to use one. There are many cases where you want to use the Earth is not flat as the argument.
This was I think this is what I was trying to introduce as saying there's two ways to model this, as two separate statements with a negation link or one statement with a canonical form and a negated form. And they're both valid, they're both transformable into one another. One other case, however, is the mutual exclusion. Like the Earth is flat and the Earth is round are mutually exclusive, and support for the Earth is round translates as support for the Earth is not flat, but they're not negation of one another, right? I could refuse both. I could say the Earth is a tetrahedron, whatever. So that's, but it needs to be modeled, and in that case, it needs to be modeled separately. Earth is flat and Earth is round. We have to have something that indicates that they're mutually exclusive without saying that they cover the space of possibility. But that is distinct from the negation, I think. But mutual exclusion is a way of saying that one entails the negation of the other. And that's a frequent case.
Yeah. Let me just bring up actually the reason why I ended up going down needing this negation is that reason score, which is different from the other systems in that it's the score itself is expressing a single opinion that could be shared by multiple people, something Stephen's been pointing out. So when I'm expressing that, I'd rather not have to say it is false that X. I'd rather say it is true. If something's proven false, I would rather say it's true and then have the proper text for the negation show. And that may be phrased differently. I would rather not say it is not. I'd rather not have double negatives because people get confused. Plus, technically in English, a double negative doesn't necessarily mean a positive. So yeah, that's the whole reason I have it, and that's why a single negation would work, but it doesn't help with Marc-Antoine's problem with mutually exclusive options, which is so
it's a distinct problem. That is a very real need. I agree that having a positive formulation for negation is useful, and this is why saying maybe we need both linguistic formulations of the claim in the model with a very clear marking. This is the positive formulation. This is the positive formulation of the negation. That could make sense. I'm agnostic about this. What is clear is there has to be a way to navigate from a formulation to a formulation of the opposite. There I'm with you totally. Whether they're two claims linked by a negation link or we put two forms on any claim, I'm agnostic about that. It should be the same. But if we put two forms on any claim, we have to be clear that the vote is always about the positive form, even if like one has to be marked as this is the positive form and this is the negative form, even if it uses positive formulate language.
Yeah, you can display it however you want in your UI, but in the data store, it'd be stored as the primary form would be the format, I would think. So the other question is, do we need multiple ones or just the single one and the negation one?
I think we always need multiple if everything.
Okay,
and then do we want, or I don't know.
Then we also need it for topics which are actually neutral, because you don't know if a topic later on will be debatable and will have opposite arguments. So
okay, that's okay. That's a good question. If I say the sky, what is the opposite of the sky? As in the sky is blue. For me, the sky is an entity topic. Let me call it entity topic for now. I was looking for a name for this, and I think that's a good one. There's no negation there, unlike claims, unlike arguments. Like arguments have a polarity, claims have a polarity, but I don't see how entity topics have a polarity.
Yeah,
I can speak about
I wouldn't say
everything that is not the sky, of course.
Yeah, I wouldn't say a topic has has a negation, because it's a different entity type. We're just talking about claims having negations at this point.
But imagine some 30 years ago, maybe no one would have claimed the Earth is flat or something like that, because I think this is a newer discussion.
No, but I'm saying the fact that it has the word "is" in it makes it a claim and not a topic. The Earth is a topic. Well, actually, we're confused because if I understand Marc-Antoine's, the word topic is synonymous to item. It is just a generic way of saying an abstract class of item, and every item should have an ID.
Let's call them entity topic for things like the Earth.
So entity topic. But I don't know, when you say topic, it sounds like you're meaning the Earth as far as a topic. But if we're saying the Earth is flat, I would say that is not a topic. It's may
not an entity topic, it's a claim topic.
It's a claim. Well, a claim entity is what I would say, but that is of type. That is a subclass of entity topic.
Where I think Thomas has a point, and it's interesting to explore a bit more. Let's take phlogiston. Phlogiston was a topic, and it's a topic that's been disappeared from existence in scientific discourse. Or ether, right? Ether, as in these were topics, and it's been deleted as a topic. So that way a topic can be negated. It can be made into something that doesn't make sense anymore, or you know, the crystal sphere of the stars, whatever. I mean, there's many of those in the history of ideas. They were not thought to be, by saying I'm speaking about the ether, I'm asserting it exists implicitly. So that way it can be negated in the sense, I'm negating that this is a valid category.
I would still
Sorry,
think you would
but you
need.
are talking about the ether, and you're not claiming that it exists, right? So you just prove yourself wrong, I would say. You can talk
the
about
ether as
ether
defined
without.
by me exists, right?
No, you can even say the statement, the ether was a concept from the blah,
It'll
blah,
be
blah.
5-10 minutes.
I mean, it's
Overall,
nice to
that's fine.
think that broad that a topic might be negated, but
I don't see it as necessary.
Let's-
And I'm trying to answer. Okay, Thomas.
Let's make it generic. Let's have a universal object, which no matter what topic it is, which has a positive and a negative option, but it doesn't have to be used. So when you have a neutral topic which does not have a pro and con, let's have this extra space for the second meaning, but let's not use it. And if there should be an unlikely case where such a neutral topic turns into a debatable topic, then you can use this negative title or whatever
So
you
I think
call
we'll
it.
have to continue this discussion next week. I think Stephen and I completely disagree with that, but we don't have time to get into it. Yeah, so I don't know where to go. I'll just put the topic for next week to say, find a single thing for us as a group to agree on. That'll be our goal for next meeting.
yeah, I would say if everyone gives a one-liner to the same we did last time, like a 1 or 2-liner definition of what is a claim, like we did for context, but now we go even further back to basics, like what is a claim, and then give an example what it is and what it cannot be. I think that would be good to like get some more concrete things here.
Can you throw that in the Hangout
Yeah, I'll do it. I'm heading out now, but I'll do it this evening.
a little later? Because I like that phrasing, but I can't remember it. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you all.
See you.
Bye bye.
Figure out